Evcol. Skint Estate. Notes from a failed revolution.
We are attempting revolution. There are 13 of us in total. We are 7 women and 6 children. And we are all living together in one room. It's the only safe room in a safe house that is no longer safe, in a condemned building just off Ladbroke Grove. We have my laptop, our phones, and a couple of battery packs. We each have a pocket torch. We have a supply of candles, and the women with babies have nappies and wipes. We are all very different. Different backgrounds, different levels of trauma. And on a normal day, we would be fighting each other over something petty. Like, who the hell is it that leaves the pan of fresh vomit in the bath every single morning? But right now, all we have is each other. In an event that took less than 30 seconds to occur, I have gained something that feels close to having a family. Then we are attempting some kind of revolution. 24 hours ago, the ceiling in the women's refuge we are living in collapsed on us. I say this not as a metaphor for our lives that are buried beneath the rubble of a society designed to silence survivors of abuse. I am talking in fact. The ceiling actually collapsed on us in the middle of the night. And now the walls could topple in on us at any moment, and although water is rising through the floors, we have no running water and we have no electricity. And National Grid came out at 3 a.m. to shut off the gas supply. We have nothing. There is a sign on the notice board with a number to call during an emergency. Please only call this number in a genuine emergency, it reads. Then it lists examples of possible emergencies just to enlighten its reader as to what an emergency could be. Because abused women are assumed stupid, of course. Fire, flood, the death of a woman on the premises, terrorist attack, invasion of male perpetrator, the death of a child on the premises. Then underneath, in capitals again, a blocked toilet is not an emergency. The not has been underlined in red felt tip pen a whole 4 times. Then there are even more words in capitals. Emergencies are listed above. Read them again if you are unsure. I read them again. And again. Just to be sure. I took a picture of the sign on our first day here. The incongruous wording amused me somewhat amongst the pseudo-calm setting of a safe, crumbling house that exists to help fragmented women piece their lives back together. I found myself throwing out a smirk whenever I passed the sign. Lots of things about living in a women's refuge make me laugh. Obviously, the situation that leads to someone seeking shelter from violence and oppression is horrific, and that definitely needs to be said in the age of idiot disclaimer. Otherwise, that above sentence would be purposefully misconstrued by a perpetual offence seeker to make me sound like I'm laughing at domestic violence. Idiot disclaimer. Violence isn't funny. I know that. I experienced it firsthand. I didn't laugh for years. But the truth is that once you stick a group of very messed up people together in a house share with panic buttons, then you have the makings of a perfect sitcom. I started writing it on the night Biddy and I arrived. My women's refuge sitcom. Working title, Refuge Woman. I'll find a better title. I'm working on it. But the emergency sign is funny. The pan of vomit that is placed in the bathroom each morning, which no one will own up to, is disgusting. But it is also funny. Here's something funny. A working class woman gathering a group of shaken, vulnerable people together and attempting to start a revolution on a whim with her unconfident, mispronounced and jumbled political views in a women's refuge in the middle of the night. It's funny. It's like laughing at a funeral. You search for the absurd in order to break the tension. At my granddad's funeral, I laughed so much. It was one of the funniest days of my childhood. I took it upon myself to provide entertainment at the wake and wrote and performed an East 17 style rap with the stories I had collected from all those Christmases when we'd searched the streets for the old man. At first, the wake audience ignored me. Then they fought with me. Then they laughed with me. And then I won. To misquote Gandhi. And then I found myself in a refuge as part of this ragtag family who have found ourselves on the unlikely path to mutiny. Soldiers against the patriarchy. Unprepared soldiers. It's funny. Even more so when Monique decides to play the original London cast recording of Les Miserables through her phone to lift our spirits. Lovely Ladies plays as the fire brigade help us bring down mattresses and blankets from the rooms where the ceilings have yet to fall, and they give each of us pocket torches. We lay 4 mattresses across the floor, and one of the officers recommends that at least one person is awake at any time to ensure that we can make a quick exit should a fire break out, or if the building loses its foundations. Both outcomes likely. By the time we've settled in, Monique has moved on to the Les Miserables motion picture soundtrack. As the fire officer instructs us on our potential escape routes should tragedy occur, Sacha Baron Cohen is singing Master of the Ass. It's funny, but we are revolting. I say things like, we stick together on this. We don't let anyone separate us. I say, we have an important political message to share about the effects of austerity. I say, we are the walking wounded of a class war. It's dramatic, but revolutions aren't they? That is why Les Miserables is the second longest running West End show ever. Obviously. We fast forward to, do you hear the people sing? We all know all the words. I reiterate to the group, whatever happens, we don't let them separate us. We are only strong as a collective. We only talk as a group. Everyone seems up for it. And I write a script that I insist we all stick to when talking to journalists, MPs, and the housing officers down at the council. The script is pieced together by some partially formed ideas of my own that have been taking root throughout my awkward political journey and crudely gluing them together with facts from newspaper reports that I've Googled. This is social cleansing. The Tories want us out. 60% of women who approach a refuge are refused a place due to refuge closures. The government have cut funding to women's refuges by 24%, meaning this was destined to happen. Since the Tories got into power, hundreds of women's refuges have closed down. Vulnerable women are getting turned away from refuges every day, and the refuges that still exist aren't even fit for purpose. Look at this place. The government ran this building into the ground so they could remove women like us from the richest borough in the country. This is a clear message from the Conservatives stating that they don't want people like us living amongst the wealthy. And then I Google Noam Chomsky quotes, finishing the script with, to misquote Chomsky, this is the standard technique of privatisation. Defund, make sure things don't work, and then privatise. It sort of fits with what I think we need to say. I think. This political situation I found myself in, it scares me. It sounds weird. All these words that are said with genuine intention that keep tumbling from my mouth. I feel like a fraud. But I'm just trying my best. Biddy teaches the script to the women, whose English is still in its infancy. We repeat it back to each other. We learn the script by heart. We are all talking the same language. As a collective of broken humans, we want everyone to know what is happening to vulnerable working class women like us in Britain. Somehow I've found myself leading the revolt, and everyone is looking to me for our next move. But like all the other women in the room, I've recently fled violence too. I am totally out of my depth and terrified. I'm raw. But I put on a strong front. I'm good in a crisis. Almost sociopathic. My therapist calls it fight or flight. I make my flight, and then I come back to fight once we're safe. That's my life technique. Anyway, it's like the only time I function at my very best is in a crisis. Day to day, I'm a bit of a mess, but in my daydreams, I stick myself on a plane bound for an emergency landing, or on a packed train mid-terrorist attack, and I'm almost certain that I'll just take a deep breath, pick my daughter up, and calmly make our way to safety. In the aftermath of Grenfell, as Biddy and I would try to fall asleep in our bunk bed beneath the murdered West London skyline, she would ask me to explain to her, shot for shot, how I would have got her out of the burning building across the street that night. What if we were on the 20th floor, Mummy? How would you save me? She asks. And although we both know in our hearts that there would have been no escape, I read her the same bedtime story every night. We don't hang about, I say. We get straight out. We don't wait for anyone to help us. First, I soak a big bath towel and then I put it around your whole body, even your face. I'm holding you the whole time. That's when I wear a small towel, like a flannel, that's for my face. Then we get the hell out of there. We make our way down those stairs. We don't run, of course, because I don't want to drop you. But we're quick. We're out of there in less than 5 minutes. You know I walk fast. We always walk fast, me and you. We're from London. We know how to use the escalators properly, and we always walk with purpose. We don't speak on the way down because our mouths are covered, but you can feel me the entire time. You know I'll make sure that you're all right. I'm holding you so tight, and if we're moving, then that means we're breathing, which means we're still alive. We just keep walking until I make sure you're safe. Then, as we take the last steps of our escape, there'll be someone there to give us oxygen. And we'll be safe. And we're okay, hugging each other with our black, smoky faces and oxygen masks. It's the happy ending all children's books profess. I'd be able to have a few days off school, wouldn't I? Because my breathing would be bad, she asks. You could definitely have a few days off school, is the last line in her bedtime story. When the ceiling collapsed in the room next to ours, and the cracks appeared above mine and Biddy's bunk bed, I placed a blanket around my shaking child, grabbed my rucksack, threw in my laptop, phone, chargers and battery packs, gave Biddy her favourite toy and shouted at everyone in the refuge to get the fuck out of that building. Much like the hero I am in my daydream, I suppose. But I know I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who is numb to attack. While everyone else is screaming and sobbing and allowing their emotions to show, I'm planning my next move, thinking how we're going to get away, what we're going to need to get there, where are we going to go. My mind always plans 6 months in advance. Where is this all leading? Since my mum threw me out for the first time when I was a teenager, I've been forever planning my next move. By the end of a successful first date, for example, I'm already planning our anniversary trip to the lakes. 6 months on from an abnormal smear test, and I am having to call the priest to cancel my funeral. It's happened 4 times now. Maybe it comes from a lifetime of trauma and having to live in survival mode for long periods. Or maybe I'm just dead inside. No, I can't be dead inside. Not permanently, anyway. Because I feel love. And I care too deeply about things. But in those life or death moments, I do have the ability to stop my heart beating temporarily. It stops when the ceiling collapses. And once we are as safe as we can be, in the only safe room in the safe house that is no longer safe, alongside other women whose only link in life is that we were attacked violently by a man, my pulse slowly returns, and I am now ready to fight. All 7 refuge women are ready to fight. But first, We need a name that's hashtag worthy so that people will hear us. To misquote Karl Marx, without a decent hashtag, your revolution will fall flat. So, the Refuge 7, the Refuge 13, the Survivors. We keep chucking out names. Starting a revolution in a women's refuge is a bit like starting a band, only without the groupies. We each have different skills and pull our resources together. We are the living embodiment of the sisterhood. Zainab had worked as a childminder before she fled her husband, so she creates a creche to keep the kids entertained. Amy is a photographer, and despite her camera getting crushed in the collapse, she navigates the building wearing a yellow hard hat that the gas man had gifted us after seeing the state of the place, taking pictures of the wreckage so that we can post evidence of our living situation on the Twitter account I've just started. I call us @RefugeWomen and get in contact with some of my influential blogger friends I'd made from my time writing about my wonderful lie of a nuclear family. I had since disclosed the truth, asking them to help us get word out to journalists. It is the most beautiful example of women with privilege using their power to uplift those facing oppression. They don't attempt to speak for us, and they don't use our experiences as a conduit to share their own stories of past oppression. They just retweet our messages as they unfurl, with nothing but the intention of helping us and instigating change. They want to help us get the word out about how government cuts are harming the most vulnerable in society. It is a beautiful and rare act of solidarity that gives us strength to keep on going, and a belief that we are doing the right thing. We have 26 followers. We have 129 followers. We have 304 followers. I scroll through my phone for the picture I took of the emergency sign from the Safe House notice board. I post it to Twitter along with the caption, "Does the ceiling in a women's refuge crashing on 7 women and 6 children count as an emergency? Because we think it does, but no one will answer us." Exactly 140 characters. Monique heads to the 24-hour garage to fetch sundries that do not require refrigeration, and Lisa repeatedly calls the emergency line, despite it continuously ringing out. Our support workers, the Housing Association, and the council are nowhere to be found. We leave 44 messages, but no one will return our calls. I pop my head up every now and then from the laptop to say things like #RefugeWomen. Everything you post on your personal social media, finish with #RefugeWomen. That's our hashtag. Karl Marx would be proud. And we've just had a message from someone at The Guardian. They want to come and meet with us. We'll cheer. Even the kids cheer. We are following every left-wing MP and journalist that springs to mind. Anyone who we think might care about the injustice of cuts to women's services. Every lefty commentator and any person who has ever looked out of place on Question Time and given a Tory panellist the side eye. Those are our comrades. It's still the middle of the night, so we update our status by torchlight. The reason the fire brigade have had to cut off our electricity supply is so that we don't burn like the other poor people did in the tower across the road from us just a few weeks before. Water is streaming through the plug sockets. Monique returns with supplies. Cigarettes, red wine, crisps, dry roasted peanuts, discounted sandwiches, chocolate, Haribo. Fuel for revolution. Michael Ball would definitely approve. We're still listening to the Les Miserables soundtrack, a different version of it. We're now on Les Miserables Live, Dream the Dream 2010 Concert Cast Album 25th Anniversary. Monique tells us, in her broken English, that she had tickets for the performance that night at the O2 Arena. But her husband had locked her underneath the stairs that week. As we take hourly fag breaks, we sneak glances at the burned-out shell of Grenfell to remind ourselves how much worse things could be. And then we feel ashamed by our glib thoughts. Those people didn't get a chance to fight. we choke on guilt with each drag. As working class women, we know that our situation could be a lot worse. Biddy escapes the makeshift creche and starts crying when she catches me smoking. "I don't want you to die, Mummy," she screams. "It's just one cigarette. Mummy is just stressed." I reassure her that I'm not dying. This is a silly mistake. This won't kill me. Today. I know it's irresponsible of me to be smoking in front of her. The thought of me leaving her all alone in the world is all that has been on her mind since Grenfell. All she talks about is death these days. Every conversation is about death. She's 7 now. Her friends are obsessed with Shopkins and the school of capitalism, Kidzania. But she's obsessed with Jessica Urbana Ramirez. There are over 100 posters of Jessica on our street alone. Biddy counted them. On every wall and lamppost, there's Jessica. And Biddy feels like she knows her. The poster reads, "Missing from Grenfell, Jessica Urbana Ramirez." Biddy stops to stare at every poster of her. Every day, "Where is Jessica Urbana Ramirez?" she asks. "There's Jessica on the lamppost. There's Jessica on the wall, but where is she?" Every wall within a mile radius of the refuge is covered with posters of people missing from Grenfell. But the only one Biddy notices is Jessica Urbana Ramirez. "Where is she, Mummy?" "She's dead. Isn't she, Mummy? Jessica is dead," she sighs. "What floor was she on?" Biddy asks. "Because if she was lower than the 8th floor, she would have been all right. She wouldn't be missing. But she was high up, and no one could get out from up there. That's where you could see the fire the most, wasn't it? That's where they burned alive," she says. "I hope they at least find the body of Jessica," she says. "Tell me how you get me out," she instructs. So I do, even when it's not bedtime. This counts as a normal conversation with my 7-year-old these days. I stub out my ciggy and tell her it's my last as I usher her inside and try to get her and all the other kids to sleep. We have a revolution to organise. 693 followers, 316 retweets. The Twitter account has only been up for 2 hours, and the day is only just beginning for most people. But the ones who are awake are listening. More people will be getting up soon. We know this because we are able to turn off our torches and blow out the candles as the summer sun fills the room. And maybe they'll listen to us too. Lisa finally gets through on the emergency line. They say they'll call straight back. They don't. We post one of Amy's videos of the wreckage. The entire ceiling had collapsed on her bed. She'd been in the communal living room watching The Handmaid's Tale when the concrete landed on what would have been her sleeping body. We joke that if she'd have been in bed, not only would she have been the first casualty of our revolution — all revolutions need a climatic casualty, end of Act 1 — but her limp body would have given us no doubts whether to call the emergency line due to the death of a woman on the premises. The person from the emergency line calls us back. Finally. It's been almost 10 hours since she said she'd call us straight back. I know this because the full soundtrack of Les Miserables comes in at around 1 hour and 37 minutes. We're 5 listens in. I decide I prefer the first act. The second act gets too bogged down with the love story. And when Michael Ball's character chooses Cosette over the far more complex Eponine, it confirms all my life theories about how only the normative and dull can achieve conventional happiness. Monique, who can barely speak English because her husband never let her leave the house in the whole 16 years she lived in Barking, sings a perfect rendition of A Little Fall of Rain. We cheer. We are in high spirits. We post a picture of water seeping through the power sockets. We post a picture of a window that has given up hope and now lies scattered in the cot where Lisa's son normally sleeps. Another tweet with someone's crushed and destroyed belongings. Another with a pile of kids' toys quickly decaying in the vastly deteriorating conditions. None of us had arrived with much, but as we started to piece our lives back together, we had all begun to accumulate possessions again. Due to the location of the refuge, we had been given most of the leftovers from the Grenfell donations. We had new clothes and were given vouchers to buy expensive premium brand makeup and stacks of new books. Now we were back to nothing. Again. 909 followers, 207 retweets, 84 comments. Someone should employ me to run their social media accounts, I reckon. Whipping up this kind of engagement within the space of a couple of hours is a proper skill. I'll pop it on my CV if we ever get out of this mess. Get myself a proper job. But for now, this is our HQ. This communal living room, which we are sharing with a family of rats who have just moved in and vastly outnumber us, we are in their world now, is where we will show the world just what this government does to working class mothers who fall foul of the patriarchy. In the midst of all of this, I become aware of my own strength. I think all of us refuge women do at this point. We have something important to say. We're standing for something important. And not only are we speaking out, but we're saying it with conviction. We may be awkward, and we don't talk like politicians, but our message is simple and clear. This is what happens to working class women under austerity. We start giving interviews to the mainstream press, but they don't want to talk about the reason the ceiling collapsed. They just keep asking us to describe the horrible things that men did to us. How many bruises did you have? They ask. We refuse to answer those questions. I remind everyone to stick to the script. We have a political point to make, we say. And we stick together and we keep to the script. The Tories want to cleanse London of women like us. Our point is proven when the Housing Association offered to move us all to a refuge in Kent. I take the call and spend a lot of time shouting. Hundreds of women are being turned away from refuges because there aren't enough beds, because Theresa May keeps closing the refuges down. Yet you have an empty refuge outside of London ready and waiting to house us all. This is social cleansing. We're not going. The Les Miserables soundtrack continues on low volume. It's the Susan Boyle version, which means our spirits are depleted. The kids are awake and noisy as they run around chasing baby rats. The news reports are up. Horrible things are being written about us below the line. They should leave London. If they cared about their kids, then they wouldn't put them through this political act. They use quotation marks around the word political act to ridicule us. Maybe we should go. Maybe we should just shut up and go to Kent, I think. Maybe this isn't our battle to fight. What are we actually going to achieve locking ourselves in this dangerous house? We're all tired. No one is helping us. The journalists want to talk about domestic violence. They don't want to hear our political message. It's tiring when no one listens, especially when you're living in squalid conditions. And let's not forget the smell. The smell of revolution? Well, that doesn't exist. But poverty? Poverty always has a smell. It's the smell of West London in 2017. Burned, underprivileged flesh and plastic flammable cladding. It's the smell of vermin piss on the cheap sagging mattresses our children are sleeping on. It's the smell of the block toilet and 2 buckets of piss that the 13 refuge women and children are having to use. It's the smell of the pan of vomit in the bath that no one will own up to. But we maintain our stance. We're trying. We want to be rehoused in a refuge close to our support networks, and we want to stay together. We need each other. We're all helping each other recover from some very serious abuse. We're like family now. A Guardian journalist takes us to a members' bar just off Portobello Road. And we all get very drunk. Drink as much as you like. This is on the wallet of the Guardian, she instructs us. Half out of kindness, and half in order to loosen our lips. The Guardian journalist is on our side, and she gives Birmingham Yardley MP Jess Phillips my mobile number. Jess calls me at midnight. She's a woman who knows the meaning of sisterhood, doesn't dismiss me as an idiot who cannot be trusted with my own opinions. She speaks my language, understands our purpose, doesn't approach me as if I'm a victim, because I'm not. I'm not a victim. I'm trying to raise our voices and seek change. I'm leading a goddamn revolution on no sleep inside a rat-infested room with 12 other traumatised people. We are 48 hours into our attempted revolution, and we have Jess Phillips on side. The next morning, groups of journalists arrive to meet us outside Kensington Town Hall. They're here to create poverty porn from abused women. They keep asking us about the kind of violence we'd endured. How many times were we raped? How many bruises did we have? How long were you held hostage? How many skipping ropes were wrapped around your neck? How long were you locked under the stairs for? And just how scared do you feel? Will you go on camera? Will you talk about the abuse you've endured to camera? We'll black out your faces. I'm fucking angry. I don't want you to hide my face, because I don't want to talk about domestic violence. This isn't a story about domestic violence. This is a story much bigger than that. They've cut funding on this refuge because they don't want women like us in the royal borough. I want to talk to you about what this government has done, what this government is doing. This government has abused me more than any man could. The ceiling has crashed down in the safe house because of government cuts. They let the building rot so they could sell it off. Don't you think it's strange how, despite the fact we have been complaining about the condition of the property for months, they refuse to fix it? And how on the night the ceiling crashed in on us, they have an empty property available right now in Kent to house all of us, despite hundreds of women being turned away from refuges. But they don't quote me on that. The papers print a sad little tale of poverty porn. Those poor abused women. They don't quote us about government cuts. Not one little quote. Whilst I was in the council building, trying to advocate us all a safe bed for the night, the journalists cornered the women who spoke the least English and asked them all how scared they were of their ex-husbands. We are very scared, they said. Obviously. They publish articles about scared, vulnerable women with black eyes living in terrible conditions. The typical. But many don't attribute it to austerity. They wouldn't let us share our stories on the impacts of government cuts. That would mean giving us a voice. That would mean journalists sharing their privilege with an oppressed group of women. They don't want to lend us their privilege. Not even one quote's worth. The comments below the line. How were these refuge women able to set up a Twitter account? How were these refuge women able to afford mobile phones and laptops? They use quotation marks to ridicule us. If these women are so worried about their safety, why don't they go where the council want to put them? These women should be grateful they have been offered another refuge, regardless of location. Be grateful. I pay for these women. My taxes are funding these women to live in the most expensive borough in the country. These women have never worked a day in their lives. These women pretend to flee violence in order to get a council house. These women need to get jobs so they can look after their kids properly. What kind of woman has a child by an abusive man? What kind of mother gets into a relationship with a man who tries to kill her? These women should not expect to live in luxury. These women, us women, the Refuge 7, the Refuge 13, the survivors, the Refuge women. We cannot fight it. Not on our own. 72 hours into our revolution, and without any support, we are tired. You cannot bring change without support, without backup. It's hard to find the strength to keep speaking up when you have no money, no resources, when you're living in a condemned building. When the one person attempting to lead the revolution has her own shit going on. When journalists refuse a platform and purposefully condescend because their own agenda is more important to their ego than lifting up oppressed women. When society doesn't want to give a voice to working class women because no one wants an even playing field. Society needs women like us to look down upon. We turn off the Les Miserables soundtrack. It's over. Our children are hungry, and none of us got much sleep. So, when the council offer Biddy and me a travel lodge in Cricklewood for 2 nights, we take it. We give up. Just like the poor people did in the June Rebellion, which inspired Victor Hugo's novel. Our revolution is over before it had begun. I vow never to listen to that soundtrack again. The council spread the refuge women across the city's travel lodges, no longer a collective. As lone voices, we are easier to control. As lone voices, we lose the little power we had gained. A base, as they say in Paris. Oppressed. Biddy and I, we spend the summer dragging bin bags from B&B to hostel to temporary flat. The rest of the women do the same, and eventually we all become so preoccupied with our own personal survival that we lose contact and purpose. It's difficult to raise your voice and create change when surviving is hard enough. The fight cold before it really got going. But we tried. The strength we collectively felt in those 72 hours showed me that it is possible to try to instigate change. Next time, I hope there will be more of us. Each austerity cut, each attack, bonding more of us together. Soon, there will be loads of angry women like me. And next time, we'll be prepared. End of Act 1.
This was an Evcol Entertainment production, a part of the Masquerade series of monologues, featuring the voice talent of Georgie Montgomery. Written by Cash Carraway. Directed and produced by Simon James Collier. Soundscape Design by Archie Lyon-Maris.